This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning, everyone. What a great start to your live safari. Let's just listen for a moment or two. A magical dawn chorus coming from the southern ground hornbill. This male is looking for his female and she's just over there on the other tree. But it sounds so, so beautiful. It's going to fly right above us. Wow. That was really incredible, everyone. What a great start. So it's absolutely fabulous to hear from you and for you all to be here today. I am going to check the hyena den as always, and I'm sure everyone in all the other locations has a plan for their own for this morning. So of course, buckle up, everyone. It's that time of day for your live safari through the African bush. And off he goes. Off they go, the two of them. Oh, such wonderful birds to see in flight, especially against a sunrise like that. The sun is already quite high up in the sky. It's becoming quite harsh to look at, actually. But the southern ground hornbills gave us quite a performance. They've been calling for about 15 minutes. And of course, as soon as we go live, well, they fly away. But that's birds for you. Birds love to do that. My name is Lauren and I do have Simon on camera. A very good morning or good afternoon or good evening to you all, wherever you are. We'll give you one short little look at the beautiful scenery in front of us, but it's not quite as amber and fire-like as it was just a few minutes ago. Such a pleasant morning, already 24 degrees Celsius and 75 degrees Fahrenheit. It's going to be a very hot day here in Djuma Private Game Reserve. But we're still going to make this a very special safari for you. So please do talk to us. You can use the hashtag WildEarth on Twitter, @FC on the YouTube chat stream. That stands for @FinalControl. Then kids, if you're under 18, please do send us a question. You just send them via an email address. So we're alerted to them very quickly. And that's kidsquestions@wildearth.tv. Or alternatively, you can head over to the Wild Earth website and go to the live safari page and submit your questions below. Okay, Simon, I believe we have got a hyena den to check on. Now, I was there yesterday, but Hart didn't really give us much of a show, to be honest. She was there, the cubs were there, but she left, which meant we had to leave. And as I mentioned yesterday, I really do want to see Ribbon. I think she'll be absolutely fine. Oh. Sorry to interrupt your morning bathroom time there, sir. But yes, I really want to see Ribbon, see how she's doing. And she had an injured leg. So I think it's really, really important, or injured two legs, actually. We don't know what happened. We can only begin to speculate, but it did seem to be causing her a lot of pain. Now, hyenas are extremely resilient, as I say, every day, and most of them bounce right back. So I'm sure very shortly we'll see her running around, being dominant, sitting on her throne at that hyena den once again. But if I don't check, we'll never know. So that's a really good place to start in the morning, as well as quarantine. Kind of got to pay attention when you're going around quarantine. You've got to look on the ground for tracks, and you've also got to look up in case there's a leopard looking at you from a tree. If you see tracks here in the morning, they're always so fresh. Beverly, yes, it was a beautiful sunrise. It was more beautiful earlier. It gets too harsh too quickly. Once the sun gets up above a certain height, it becomes very, very harsh. But it was definitely beautiful watching the ground hornbills silhouetted against that amber glow. That's for sure. I agree. I love the sound they make. I absolutely love their call, especially when it's a duet, the male and female. It's gorgeous. Okay, I don't see a single track for anything, but I know baboons were alarm calling at the dam, which is just down there, maybe 2 hours ago. So just got to check the ground to make sure that no leopard has walked by. Okay, I'm going to bumble on to the hyena den and we're going to send you across to Andrew to say good morning.
Wonderful. Good luck, Lauren. Checking the hyena den there. We're also in the area where, actually slightly western side of where Lauren was just waking around here. And what we see in this area, all disturbed trees that actually been damaged by the elephants. And my name's Andrew. On camera, I have Davy this morning. So now, looking at that tree that you see right on the other side, there, this is actually the reason why I decided to stop here, because we always driving in this area, western side of quarantine, and none of the marula trees have been damaged like this by elephant. Where it happened probably last night or yesterday. As you can see, the bark itself still very fresh. So it's probably happened midnight also during the day yesterday, I would think. But that can cause a life for that tree, because it looks like that elephant debark all the way around. All you see there is just its trunk. It's just a wood and no skin. If it was our flesh then, and then that's only the water that would transport along the trees, but the cover is so important that the tree doesn't dry out itself. You say that the elephants, they have a very strong trunk indeed, and often when they debark trees they use their tuskers. So the sturb tree, where marula trees we're looking at now, is not actually very strong bark there. They were able to sturb trees but using their tuskers, but the trunk will also do a lot of help because they have like a little clip on the end, would be able to grab and peel off what they would need. It's a combium layer which is lying between the bark and the wood. Remember, we're coming to you live from these locations. You're able to communicate with us while we're out here. It's a simple way. You go register on Wild Earth website and you head over to the live page, the live safari page, and you can submit your questions and comment there. And we would like to hear from you. So this is where when elephants feed, they take plenty of grasses where they specifically this time of year, grass is plant, vegetation is green. For return, then they need special diets, which they often do it. Mainly in the winter, but maybe they miss it sometimes. They miss some of the flavor that they know they get from the bark itself.
Murgan, that bark doesn't look too tasty. Murgan.
Megan, so you say this bark doesn't look too tasty. But I think for the elephants, it's probably something that they benefit from there. It's probably a lot of them, especially a bark from this marula tree, since they have a thicker layer of bark, but the combium layer, which is then a thicker layer as well. And it's actually so much juice, and this is probably what they want. So itself attached to wood and the bark is probably a sweet layer there. But then outside of the layer, which is the bark, then it's got to be kind of another taste, which I know some tribe in South Africa, they will definitely spend a lot of time going out in the wood, cut these trees to be able to build their shelters or hut houses. Some of them being recorded feeding on some of these, but it's about the sugar they need, but only on red thorn trees that I know of, that I think it's actually tastes sweet, but the flavor remains in your mouth for a long time. But I've also seen elephants feed on a red thorn. So I'm gonna search here. I actually on a leopard trail here, where I think must be Kalamba in the area. So I'm gonna spend time. No, the track's not on a road anymore. Cross into one of the bushes here. I'm gonna go around the circle. I'm gonna be doing this while I'm sending you over across to Lauren with Hyena on a den.
It's actually remarkably quiet here this morning, other than the birds, of course. The birds are not quiet. It's just June. Everyone else must be sleeping. I imagine Junebug is down there too, also sleepy, full of milk, delicious, rich milk. But other than that, I don't see any other hyenas. She looks tired, if I'm allowed to say that. June, what did you get up to last night? I can only imagine. Now, I do say this repetitively, and I'm not trying to sound like a broken record, but I'm still so surprised that they're using this den. I remember last year, once the cubs were starting to get to a certain age, they were moving quite a bit. Can you imagine the parasite load in there? We have watched the cubs take parts of the carcass, be it a leg or a head, and take it into the den. It must be quite smelly down there. Actually, it must smell terrible. But normally once a parasite load gets too high and it does become really unhygienic, they move. But there's 6 cubs in there. All different ages. Oh, my goodness. 4 different generations. Or 4 different litters, sorry. Hello. We saw you. Good morning. Oh, we're going to climb over Mom. She's blocking the path. I'm going to stand on her. Look at June's ear. You can actually really see how damaged it is. It's the cartilage. It flopped over at the matriarchal takeover. I don't know if that... I think it must have got bitten on some level. Her ear's never been the same since, but it makes it really easy for us to identify her. But once that cartilage is damaged, it won't repair. P, good question. Good question. I don't know. And Tima absolutely could take over. She's Ribbon's daughter, so she's also very high ranked. So she could just step up to the mark. But she could also be challenged. Oh, looks a bit rough. Junebug's not complaining. But yes, she could also be challenged. Heart appears very dominant and quite a permanent fixture around here. But yes, it would most likely be a high-ranking individual that would step up. But be it Heart or be it Intima, I'm not sure. I can just hear Junebug saying, "Mom!" Mom, those weird people with the camera are there. Oh, how sweet is this? This is such a precious sighting. It's like, no, Mom, I'm clean now. Nikki, no, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I love hyenas, but they're definitely not as well, they're not like leopards in that they meticulously groom themselves. They don't allo-groom, unless it's mother and offspring, which is completely normal. And I do not think they den clean. They move dens, and they'll wait for the other den to sort of dry out, if you like. Air it a little. But I don't think they clean the den. Look at the size difference. Just to think that this little Junebug's going to grow into a huge hyena. I can't smell anything from the den. I can smell the cubs. They have a really distinctive smell, but it's not a smelly area to be in. It's not unpleasant unless they have a carcass. Then it does become rather unpleasant. Oh, June, you look full. That is one full tummy. One was busy last night. She looks shattered, if I'm allowed to say that without sounding like I'm anthropomorphizing too much. Is that moment over already? We're back again. Safari Kitty, you're saying yes, June does look a bit tired. She does, doesn't she? I don't know if it's just me, but of course they are nocturnal. They're primarily nocturnal, so you'll see them during the day, but really they do all their sort of walking, hunting, scavenging at night time. That's when they're really active, so I guess it's natural that they're going to be a bit sleepy in the morning, but she does just look exhausted. She's fiercely protective over this little one. Out of all the mums, Ribbon, Heart, Corky and June, June's really protective. She's always trying to get this little one back in the den. It doesn't work. The little one always comes out, but she tries. She's really cleaning her little one. It's very sweet. Tom, I think you're asking about the tongue there, and it's rough. It's rough. I've got some nice photos of hyena tongues, believe it or not. And I'm not able to show you, but you can see they're rough like cats. And this also sort of helps with when they're grooming. So yes, they're rough, just like cats and mongoose. Mongoose also have rough tongues. This is just so precious, listening to the dawn chorus, watching mother and what we assume to be daughter. But I mean, we thought that Ribbon was a boy for a long time, so we can't always get this wrong. Now it's just papillae on a cat's tongue that makes it really, really rough. Almost like tiny microscopic hooks. You would never see this with the naked eye, really. I mean, you can see that it's rough, but you would need to see the sort of hooks. You would need to see the hooks under a microscope to know that they are like little sharp sort of spines. And that's a cat's tongue, and it's not only to help with grooming, but also drinking. Cats are not good at drinking water. And that is June off, I'm afraid. Which means we have to leave. But I'm really, really glad we got to see that precious moment. So we're going to bumble around and see what else we can find.
My name is Ross, and I'm a field guide at and beyond Pinde Private Game Reserve. I love getting questions from guests on Wild Earth because I love sharing and learning information about nature with new people, and it also makes me feel like you're all joining me in real life. If you want to ask a question on Wild Earth, then you need to register on our website. Once registered, go to our live safari page and submit your question below our live feed.
This is Rusty. He's my favorite vehicle, and we've been through all the good times here in the bush. Now, if you feel a connection to Djuma Game Reserve like I do, then we have a fantastic opportunity for you. You can have your name engraved on a brushed metal plaque just like this one, and we will attach it to Rusty so you can always be with us on safari in spirit. We will even send you a digital photograph once your plaque is mounted on Rusty. Spaces are limited, so grab your spot now.
What fascinates me most about the animal circle of life is the intricacies between the large and the very, very small. I mean, it's very easy to go out there and find the large. Once you found the large, the cascading effect down to the small absolutely fascinates me. Alertness and situation awareness is by far the #1 aspect for protecting ourselves out on safari.
Catch up with the guides daily here on Wild Earth. Have you been watching Wild Earth and dreamt of being right there on safari with one of the guides? Well, now you can. Wild Earth is offering you a chance to buy a ticket to dream. You or a friend can hop on board a live Wild Earth show and join our guide on safari. The ticket is redeemable at any of our locations, anytime in the future. Only a limited number of tickets are available, so don't wait. Get your ticket now and start dreaming. Terms and conditions apply.
So we've left the den naturally.
The moment I join you.
Sorry, I'm just also trying to get on the game drive video. I've not had a chance to get on it yet and just find out what is going on around us. What's happening in the south, what's happening in the north. It's a wonderful, yet very noisy little device where we all communicate to let each other know what's happening, who is moving where. But we will arrive at Treehouse Dam, so we'll take a little look. But this pathway, believe it or not, the Hyena Den Road, is often filled with leopard tracks, female leopards. I think both Shidulu and Kalamba use this road. Often, very often, but I don't see any today. And it's not because the hyenas are there, it's just a lovely little shortcut. It's a little 2-track that takes you from sort of the core area right to water. Well, hippos move, believe it or not, especially young males. You normally find a female with calves who's under sort of a territorial bull will stay. The hippos and chitwas tend to stay put. But otherwise, hippos will move. They do get out. If they're not territorial, you might find that they just wander to another dam. So you won't always find them. Sometimes we come... Oh, we're going to go this way. Sorry, everyone. Not able to show you Treehouse Dam as I intended. Yes. Sometimes the hippo's there, sometimes he's not. He's a young bull, not territorial, and they get out to forage as soon as the sun sets, and therefore they may end up wandering just to another dam. Winter's your problem for hippos. Once the dams start to reduce in size and water sort of becomes more restricted, that's when tension happens and arises in hippos. You will find a lot of male hippos around, injured, covered in blood, because they fight, and it's because of stressful conditions. You look at Chitwa, it's a huge dam, and there's enough space for quite a few territorial bulls to have their own little harem of females. But once that body of water gets less and less and less, space becomes far more restricted, and they will fight one another for space. And you'll see a lot of injured hippos. You've got to be careful in winter because they'll be out, they'll be hiding in the vegetation trying to recover, and you don't want to drive into an upset hippo. But you generally don't find that happen in summer. Don't see any tracks on this road. Well, lots of tracks, just not for the animals we're looking for. Abshin. I don't know if I'll actually have an image. I think it's far easier to show you an image. I'm going to stop in the shade. Are you in the shade by any chance, Simon? No. Is there any shade here? I don't actually think so. Your leopards have retractable or protractable claws. And therefore, in their tracks, you will not see any claw mark unless they're running or they've been fighting, but just a normal sort of walk by from a leopard, you will not see claws. Now, cheetah tracks, they don't have cheetah tracks in this book, I'm afraid. I'm terribly sorry. I thought it would be a really good idea to show you. Cheetah claws are not protractable like leopards are, and therefore you will see claw marks in the ground. They're also a sort of different shape and a different size. They're a little bit more longer and narrower than leopard tracks are quite fatter and broader. So they really do look different. Lions and leopards are very, very similar. You could easily get them muddled up. They've both got protractable claws, but it's the size that normally gives it away. A lion's paw is a lot bigger than a leopard's. So you can judge by size, but those two are extremely similar. But because of the claws and the actual shape of the paw, it's very different for cheetah. And I'm sorry, I thought my book would have had a cheetah track that I could show you a comparison, but sadly it doesn't. But we really don't see much cheetah on Juma. I mean, a handful of times since I've been here. Bofosuk is a good area for cheetah. But in the morning, we normally tackle the reserve. As a team, someone will go this way, north, south, east, west, and we just check all the roads. And then you report your tracks that you find. So there's certain sort of parts of the reserve that animals traverse a lot more than others. Almost like highways, busy roads that they all use. And those are the roads that we tend to track first. If we don't have any idea where the leopards are, Tingana, we don't know where he is since Andrew left him, and Tlalamba's also not been seen. So where do you start? So you have to check those roads in Juma that you know the leopards use regularly. And if still nothing, then of course you have to broaden your search. But you've got to have a starting point. And normally when we all leave camp, we talk on the radio and everyone decides where they're going to check first. There's absolutely no point in two vehicles driving the same roads. And that's why we always have to talk on the radio. Some of the roads have not recovered very well from the rains, I'm afraid. They're extremely bumpy. So we will head to Twin Dams. Hopefully I can give you a view of that dam at least. But sadly, the predators are just not concentrating around the water bodies anymore. Water is plentiful. Water is everywhere. From small little puddles to little pans to huge dams. Water is literally everywhere. That's why summer can be quite tricky to find the predators. We're going to continue trying to avoid the sun and looking for tracks. And for now, we'll send you across to Andrew.
Thank you very much, Lauren. Of course, we're still looking here. We haven't given up trekking for leopards. Now we're looking on the eastern side of this area, trying to put everything there for everyone to see, where all the visitors, when they come in this area, this is actually the area where they all benefit finding their cats, lions and leopards. And they're actually looking in the uphill, far on the eastern side of us here, where on the other side then is a Kruger National Park boundary, where it's actually, separate or share with the Tswalu Game Reserve. And that scenario back there, and that's where most of the time when leopard likes to be, as you can see, all tall trees, but it's covered, we're in low field, so which means it's so many of a drainage line system, and that's why you all of a sudden see the uphill and the downslope a bit. So it's never actually level all the way, and we don't have such any big open area. Not everywhere we have, but not actually so big. So this is actually leopard country that we're looking at. And looking at how can't even recognize if there was in a road or where road goes between, but so many of the small roads to tracks that we use to be able to track these leopards, or sometimes off road and foot track them if we knew there's a track that leading into that specific woodland. but also rich in grasses, different species of grasses that makes even more sustainable for cats who love it so much. So all visitors come in this area, but they all enjoy it. But looking at the uphill, all the beneficial of the landscape, and at some time then always focusing on, especially when you look for leopards, look up in trees. As you can see, all tall trees out there, but the marula trees most. So you mainly find leopard up in trees or on the ground moving along this road. Victoria. So he's saying the landscape is slash and green. Indeed it is. Even though it's so far away. And it's so great that you can be able to see a wide range for distances. So where far we're looking at, it's similar like what we're pointing at right now, all of these trees here. It's all the same. It's all green, beautiful, shiny country. So we're gonna carry on with our checking on a leopard. Awesome rain. Well, indeed, you're right. Actually, you would really definitely go lightly hungry, wanting some salad. But looking at this vegetation that has taken place in this beautiful raining season, so green, and it's actually a very good, challenging. Everybody and really dying to be in this part of the world. But it's important that you can see from there, and it's all beautiful dead trees. Those trees that are died, but you can still see those are not live, they're dead. But those are live, green, you still see. It's actually able to be easy to tell from a distance. Those are still wet. So I'm gonna carry on, haven't given up here, looking for the tracks of a leopard. If it happens, you come this far, so we'll probably find her tracks. So, I'm not sure which female that could be. It happens if maybe Tswalu came into the area, because we haven't checked the western sector there, the boundary that's separating us between Simambile, Ratuza and the Gari Juma. So if it's not a Tswalu, then Annie, that's my wish. So you're saying, you hope we find the lumber. It's really been in my list since yesterday. I'm dying to see where she's gone and how far she has gone. So I'm really dying to find her, and also to see what she's doing, what she got. Okay, so I'm gonna turn around, take another route here, carry on, check. I'll be sending you over to Lauren with her alert eagle.
Very beautiful beautiful bird here for you, displaying all its tail feathers. It's a cuckoo. Now, I think it's the Birchall's. Oh, my goodness. Wow, that was a very fast flight. Can you see where it went, Simon? Shall we try and drive around? I think it was the Birchall's. You can see that coppery shine from miles away. It's a really rich copper colour. Let me just see if I can spot where it went. Bear with me, Si, hold on. Yeah, there we go. I think this is the same individual. It's definitely a cuckoo. It's a very large bird, actually, and they've got quite unique red eyes. What are you doing? I'm actually trying to just get my bird book so I can show you the different species that we get here. Just bear with me. Sometimes when you're using an app for so long, I must say it's slightly strange reverting back to a book, which is terrible. It's really, really terrible. Okay, here we go, Sai. This is the bird that we're looking at here. Now, there's different species, but the one that I really do believe we're looking at is number 3 down here, the Birchall's cuckoo. It's fairly common, and you can see what we were looking at originally was those barred tail stripes. Can you see them? When it had its tail fanned open, probably trying to aerate, warm up in the sun. Maybe it's already had a bath. You can see the slight barring on the underside, and then it's got a white, creamy coloured chest. They've all got red eyes, and they've all got the exact same sort of body shapes. But I think it was the Birchall's that we were looking at. They can be they're common, but they're also said to be quite secretive. And that's why you won't always see them. I think this is only the second time I've managed to put this one on camera. Okay, let's see if we can go back to the actual bird itself. No, it's flown away, Simon. This is the twin of twin dams. So it's the other half of twin dams. It's very, very small. And this pan is extremely productive. It's really, really small, covered in vegetation. But in terms of bird life, if you want to do some birding, just come to this pan and wait. We've had some incredible sightings here. And just around. Gwyn, can you just repeat that question one more time? Oh, there's a woodlands kingfisher. It's not the same bird. We were just, oh no, he's off, he's off. Ham and Jess, birds molt throughout their lifetime. We'll show you the weavers for now. They're very, very busy as I look around for other birds. And yes, they do grow back. They're made from keratin, which is the same material in our sort of hair and our fingernails. And it's an extremely strong protein made up from amino acids. But all the sort of feathers of a bird are slightly different. They're not all the same. So tail feathers, for example, are a lot more rigid and a lot more structured than down feather. They all have a different purpose. It's not sort of even across the bird's body, if that makes sense. The down feather, the purpose is for insulation. The tail feathers is sort of for balancing and acting almost like a third leg. And then you have all the different flight feathers. I can come back to that a little bit later, but as we enjoy the weavers, we're going to send you across to another location.
Well, it's a beautiful morning here at Pridelands. It's actually a very, very peaceful scene as we have an entire breeding herd of elephants slowly moving down the road, and they are headed straight in the direction of Leopard Dam. So hopefully in just a moment I'll be able to reposition and we can get a view of them. My name is Taylor McCurdy, and on camera with me today is Gert, and we're here at Pridelands, like I said, which is part of Boluli Game Reserve and the Greater Kruger National Park. So this is quite a big herd of elephants that we've got here. I was hoping that it was going to be my favorite elephants herd, Susan, but oh, hang on, it might be two. There's Susan. There she is. We've got a bonus, 2-in-1 herds today. Susan's herd is not particularly this big, so it seems as though they've joined up with another smaller herd, which is quite cool. But of course she's being tailed by quite a young bull, and she's normally one of the elephants that hangs right at the back of the herd where the rest of the troublemakers are. Hello, Gil. For those of you that are new and have only just joined us for the first time, this is my absolute favorite elephant in the whole wide world. She's quite a character. She's known for coming right up to the cars and encroaching in your comfort space, but anyways, and if you don't talk to her, she tries to do naughty things to the vehicle. So she likes to push the boundaries, which is quite funny because I think I do that sometimes as well. Hey, Gert. Yeah, so it's me. If I was an elephant, that would be me when I was about 3 years old. Okay, so we need to turn around. I can't believe how quickly they moved past us. I thought that we'd be able to sit here for quite some time and watch them. But what I'm going to do is I think backwards is probably going to be the easiest way. And then, unfortunately, it looks like they're drinking from the southern side of the watering hole, which means that we're actually going to have to go all the way around and head to the bumpy there and head towards the northern banks. Otherwise we're not going to get a great view, but we'll stop here just very quickly just to have a look at some little bottoms splashing in the water, and then we'll quickly go and reposition. It's always nice to watch an elephant front on, but we'll take what we can get. It's nice to hear those sounds of the water splashing between their legs and of course dropping from their trunks. But we're going to head around to the northern side of the dam and hopefully we'll get to see Susan one more time.
Now there's a bird species that I'm trying to get on camera. So as I look, it was just here moments ago. As I look for it, I'm just going to give you a moment to enjoy the fantastic sounds of the weavers. I can see it, Simon, I can see it. Okay, how to direct you. Do you see at 2 o'clock? There's a bird, it's hidden in the vegetation, but it's moving. Very close to the water's edge, there's a bird moving in the thicket there. There we go. Yes, this is a bird I've been trying to show you. I think, everyone, this, I could be wrong, we need to get a better look. This is the lesser moorhen. And if it is the lesser moorhen, if I am correct, then this is actually quite an unusual sighting here for the Sabi Sands. I believe it's quite rare. I think Andrew identified it as a black crake the other day, an easy mistake, but I'm going to sit here and try and get a positive idea on this bird.
we decided against going all the way around to the northern side of the dam. And the reason why we didn't is because Susan and her herd, or I say Susan and her herd like she's the matriarch. She, don't get me wrong, she's not the matriarch. She's very, very young. However, I think that she must be quite closely related to the matriarch elephant. So the matriarch is essentially the oldest and most experienced elephant in most cases, but sometimes this is not the elephant here, not this big cow that's coming towards us. There's another one that she's in the water still. And I actually think that it might be Susan's mom. I have seen her turn around and reprimand Susan quite a few times. And whenever she is standing interacting with the herd, she spends a lot of time near that big old cow. So I say that like it's an insult. That's a compliment when you say that to an elephant, a big old cow. Because, yes, you have lots of respect when you're of age and a female elephant. You can see the three little ones. Those two on the left are very close. They spend almost every single day together. And they're about the same age. Haley, now I'm sure you and a few others are excited and happy that you have an opportunity to see Susan. We'll wait for her to come on out. And I'm surprised that she isn't here, because normally she doesn't leave the little one's sides. She's almost like the guardian within the herd. She spends almost her entire day just looking after the youngsters. And speak of the devil, here she comes. I guess she's the one that's just got her head to the right. She's just turned around for us now. She can't help herself, and she must interact with the little ones. She's a very young cow herself. I don't think she's more than 12 or 13. I mean, I would put her between the ages of about 10 and 14, somewhere around there. That's quite difficult to sort of tell. She's not a massive elephant. She hasn't got swollen mammary glands. The bulls were quite interested in her a little while ago, so we weren't sure if she was coming into estrus because she was acting quite bizarrely, and all of those new hormones coming through, I'm sure that would definitely affect her behavior. But she's calmed down a fair amount. I say this until she comes out of the water, and yes, we shall see. But she ignored us, and I'm sure she knows who I am. She definitely knows the tone of my voice. I have no doubt about that. And I'm sure she's getting to know Mike too. Right, off you go quickly across to Djuma to see what bird Lauren has.
We've got slightly better visuals, everyone. Now, I think it's the lesser moorhen. Key feature, look at that beak. It's bright yellow and red. Two primary colours, which are very striking out here. But it's a lot paler than I would assume. I don't know whether it's maybe the female. The females are slightly paler. But any birders out there, I know some of you are expert birders, please let me know, am I correct? Are we looking at a lesser moorhen? Hashtag Wild Earth or at FC. If we are, which I think we are, they're quite omnivorous, which means they will eat insects, which is other animals as well as vegetation. And you will normally find them around freshwater bodies, especially a sort of wetland habitat. And this is exactly what we're looking at on a smaller scale. This pond is almost like a pond, actually, which is temporary because it's not here in winter. It's almost like a wetland. The water extends right through the vegetation, and it's a perfect spot to find birds. You just need to sit here and you can find such wonderful species. But I think this is what we're looking at here. You get the common moorhen as well, but that's normally got quite a different beak, a lot more red than yellow, and it's larger. And I've seen this bird day after day after day, and we were alerted that there's one in the area. And it's not a black crake. Similar looking and related, absolutely. But if this is a lesser moorhen after all, it'd be the first one for me. on my bird list. I'm getting there. My bird list is getting longer and longer. So the beak should be predominantly yellow, with sort of just a red ridge, if you like, a bright red ridge, whereas a common moorhen is predominantly red with a little yellow tip. Either way, it's a stunning bird. It's got a white flank stripe as well, so you should see that underneath the wing. It's a little bit difficult to tell because the views are not 100%, but there's a white stripe there as well that gives away what bird they are. Fantastic news. Thank you, James Richard. You have confirmed it's a lesser moorhen. Yes. Okay, any of you that are keeping a list and you haven't seen that one before, maybe you have. There you go. Add it in, the lesser moorhen. And it's said to be really quite uncommon out here, which is why I've been after putting it on camera. I don't think I was the first. I think there's a possibility Andrew may have found it, but he just wasn't entirely sure about the ID. And it's said to be quite rare, so I'm very impressed, which is why I sat here to put it on. It is an intra-African migrant, like a lot of birds here, arriving for the summer and then leaving again for the winter. So it's normally between November to sort of April, even May, give or take, depending on the year and the seasonal changes. But it generally arrive in time for summer and leave in time before winter kicks in. That was very exciting. James, we are going to leave this little pan now, but we're going to send you across to Andrew with something very interesting to show you.
Thanks, Lauren. Good luck with looking around. Here we got an elephant defecations where it's all on the road. But to me, it looks like it wasn't really big elephant. Where usually you see whole piles of dung at once. And a tongue can sometimes be 8 kilograms of dung at once that elephants drop. And that's why they need water regularly to drink. And when you see them drink, they take amounts of water at a time so that they can dilute amount of fiber that they already consume. A lot of wood, grass is what you see sticking out there. It's all just a piece of grasses that they actually been chewed by the molar, swallowed, but taken care inside by the bacteria. They only break only 44% sometimes on the tummy of the animal, because they now have a single pocket stomach where all food now goes to ferment. The next time then animal has to defecate, so there is a system different from ruminate and a single pocket stomach, where ruminate they have a full quick lick bridland.
I'm so happy that we've managed to catch this absolute cuteness. Look at these 2 and 3. Oh, I suppose it was the same 3 that we were looking at in the water just a little bit earlier. They're now rolling around in the sand because throwing sand over your body by using your trunk is so 2020. And now, of course, what do little elephants like to do? When one is on the ground, we play pile on the elephant. You can see it's trying to climb up onto probably its cousin's back, maybe older sibling. Up you get. Oh, they really do push and shove one another around. But, of course, play is very important for muscle development and their social skills. And they make for a great rubbing post. Goodness, excuse me, it's all happening back there. Someone's very unhappy. Oh, shame, little one, but you're big enough. You can just rock that little one straight off of you. I also love the different colors that the elephants are showing. Nice dark chocolate browns versus slightly more gray. Up you get. So, of course, it's sort of an age-old myth that elephants don't like to lay down because it's difficult for them. As you can see, it's not the easiest thing to get back up onto your feet. The little one is definitely struggling, but it's putting on a show for us. It's not that hard. And elephants do spend a lot of time sleeping in the shade when they can, especially on these hot, hot days. If you drive onto Pridelands during the middle of the day, you'll see under almost every single marula tree, there will be some little ones sleeping almost underneath the adults and the rest of the members of the herd while they stand in the cool shade. So for these young elephants especially, it is important that they get a lot of rest, just like babies, and you would have seen if you've got puppies and kittens at home, they spend a lot of time sleeping. Oh goodness, they're very wild. There's a bit of a sugar rush that's going on right now. They get these bursts of energy and they play, and then they go back to normal again. Well, what we deem normal anyways. You guys are very sweet. Oh, sorry. No spider. No. Sorry, I have a spider on me. Oof. Excuse the panic. There was a spider going all the way into my face, and I'm not a fan of them, and I don't like them unless they're jumping spiders, so I'm just going to panic here quietly. Get off. Okay, sorry. I'm back. I've composed myself once again. I'm a big, brave safari guide. Hello, Cheeky. Are you going to show us how scared we're supposed to be? Don't you come up to that car and learn bad habits like Susan. So this is quite normal for little elephants, and in its mind it thinks that it weighs about 6 tons and stands at 3 meters tall. Hey, elephant? No, I'm gone back again. Didn't get a reaction from us. Normally what happens when you are on a safari with guests, the vehicle will erupt in laughter, and that definitely does bruise that little one's ego, because that's not the response they want. They want you to drive away dramatically, but of course we wouldn't do anything like that. We just sit. See, I am here. I'm just having a nap, just laying flat down on the car so that you can all see. Otherwise you won't see much other than my blonde ponytail. And after a quick mud bath and swim like the other elephants, it's important to cover yourself with sand on a hot day like today, just adding an extra coat of protection. And you'll see that you might think, why on earth are these elephants spraying sand around their mouth and into their eyes? But those areas are always quite moist, so that's where the flies and other biting creatures will hang around looking for moisture. So if you cover that up with sand, you're probably going to have less chance of them annoying you. Well, we're going to keep our eyes open for Susan because she isn't here. I think she's in the dam swimming with the rest. Off we go to Andrew, who's now also got his own elephant party.
Thank you very much, Taylor. So cool that sometimes these baby elephants, they can be sometimes cheeky, especially when they have presence of that they don't understand. So here we still on these elephant defecations. That is probably maybe not long ago. By looking at the color, it's still moisturous, it's still wet enough. So it happens there's elephants around here. One sign for sure that you can tell. Now, when we're just discovering of how the process of elephants' digestion is working, when it comes to food, where it's quite a lot of plants that they would consume around here, but also including the roots. But when you look in this down here, now we don't see a lot of big twigs so much, and we don't see any of a single marula fruits in that because it's not yet proper season for them. But normally you see yellow fruit amongst the dung, or a piece of wood of thorns that is aren't really digest well there. It's just because there's so much grasses, then they spend a lot of time eat grass than breaking these big trees for thorns and things like that. So they need a lot of food a day, and that's why when you look at the whole piles, and it comes only once at a time, and more likely that they have a lot of food. Otherwise, if it's in the winter, to cover the space that is, it's already free in their tummy, it can take several hours. But at the same time, amino-certificate, it means then they have a lot of feeding around. It's good, sustainable food. Now, Kim, yeah, so you're saying it looks like a fertilizer. It do. But actually, it's not really bad. You can use elephant poop as a fertilizer, especially those that dried off. And everything out here, I know dung beetle will consume on these, but anything that left goes back to the ecosystem. But rejuvenate grasses as a compost. But not only the elephant's dung then in that process, so many of other defecation of animals, including all antelopes. So they will probably do that just because of they have to defecate. But knowing that, there is something benefit after defecations. So ecosystem, it works in a good way that in turns there is a food behind, maybe next year, maybe a few months later. So which means animal, they will establish their own feeding area, their own terrain, or good grazing area. When the first time you think of destruction, but the next time they end for a change, it's good for them. So now, the feeding behavior between the ruminate and the handicap fermentants is that those of warthogs and those of hippos and all the elephants, rhinos, zebras, they feed non-stop. If it's possible, they can do that. It's just because the process of fermentation is quite quick. So the food pass by, but mixed with another old material that was already in the tummy. But at the same time, the bacteria will be involved in this breaking the cellular down. In the next few hours, it's a dung again. And now they ruminate. Then it's different. They need to feed and full pocket. That is actually, they can't go for the first time. It's full. Now the animals has to stop and lie down, work on card, and then swallow again, but make space until they wanted to feed again. So the minute they've chowed the card and they're done, that's when now they're hungry. But it still also mean that they can get hungry while they're feeding. If they don't chew card, that's only the difference. So, over to our right over here, as you can see, now as a tree is involved. When you look at these berries, that's quite of a small berries. Look at tiny little berries that is sticking. It's already a few of them in this tree. It sometimes can be very difficult to be seen because now it's actually unripe, but that's a magic guarri bush, and produce fruit, which is now all of these tree species. They have this fruit there, but in February, then they will be ripe into grapes color, where it's slightly darkish but rich in juices, where birds love them. Where this time unripe like this, elephant will spend time disturb the trees. As you can see already, the branch has been taken off, but good thing is that you see the regrowth is still there from the other side. It means the tree won't die, even though there's a lot of damage. But this can happen to many of the trees that are disturbed by an elephant. So fruits eatable by human.
Question.
Kim, so you're asking if this berry eatable for human? Yes. This is where we grow up, eat them around, and they're free, so you don't have to buy them. You can sell them if you want them to be sold in a city where they don't need them or they don't have trees, such a tree, because trees is not everywhere. Probably in the low field, bit of a high field, but not many there. So magic guarri bush fruits are eatable. So I'm sure we'll eventually see how it's going to end, especially when they're ripe. Everybody will see how it looks like, and we're probably going to eat in front of everyone when it does that. So there is a little stone inside, so you don't actually difference to grape, because grapes doesn't have a little big stone. With this one, there's a juice which is covered with a layer, but rich juice in there. But in the middle, there's a little stone that you won't crush with your tooth. So all you do is just suck juices, and then you throw away the stone. Where baboon, they swallow the whole thing. Birds will swallow the whole thing. But what's so important about birds doing that is for regeminate trees anywhere else around where there is no such a trees. They can fly off, they defecate, seed, defecated, and they later on, few years, and then there's a tree growing up in that area. But also the wood itself, when it's dried, it's very good for firewood. Doesn't last long for sure, like combretum type of wood, but it's quick burn, which flames very strong if you need a fire going for very fast. So we're gonna carry on search around here. Still haven't forgotten that we're on a leopard search. Just gonna make sure we still have time before hot. Then they'll be in shade, or then we won't find them. Still moving around, so I'm gonna carry on. Or trying to get also the update from the other guys, whether they have tracks, because it happens. If somebody have a tracks and is not interested on that animal, they won't follow it. And then I'll be the one that's very interested to go take over, follow. So So while I'm carrying on driving, I'm going to be sending you over to Lauren with her something small.
Well, not that small, extremely large. They're far in the distance. We don't have the best visuals, but it's a different pair of southern ground hornbills. Not the same ones. And they're hunting. But because the grass is so long, it makes it a little bit challenging for us to see. But they're eating. You see, they're finding something on the ground. They eat almost anything and everything. They're really quite ferocious. Beautiful birds to look at. But if you're a small insect or a small lizard or a small terrapin, you will fear these birds, I'm sure. They're very obvious by their size. And the beak, straight away, you know, that's a hornbill. It's quite cool just watching it walk through the long grass like that. And the grass out here is getting to a point that we won't be able to see anything. It's getting that long. Shall I go forward for you, Simon? Can't quite see where they went. I've lost them. Is that not them there? Or is that a stick? It could be a stick, it could be a bird. Can't see them anymore. I think that is them there at 3 o'clock. To the right. To the right. Is that not one there? Here. No, go back. Or is that just a stick? Okay, I don't think this is going to work. Oh! Here we go. We have like 2%. Someone, you're saying hornbills are your favourite. I'll get going to repeat the name. But yes, they're one of my favourites too. Bill, yes. Completely agree. So it was a stick that I was looking at. Simon had the birds. Well done, Simon. Now, they're particularly endangered, these birds, although we're seeing them a lot. Remember, we're just working a very small area. Sort of across the board, they are listed as endangered. They have a really protracted breeding process, which means it's very long, it's very drawn out. They don't reproduce quickly. So although the sort of incubation and the nestling period doesn't take that long, the sort of general consensus is the female will only produce a chick once every 6 years. Sorry. I'll move out your way. Are you sure? I'm blocking the road for another vehicle. Naughty. So yes, the female will only reproduce a chick every 6 years, which makes it a really, really long process. And if the populations are damaged due to any human influence, they're not reproducing quickly enough to build the populations back up again. And that's why they are said to be quite endangered. Now I really have lost them, Simon. Just gone into the thick vegetation. But that's a different pair from this morning. We're on the southern boundary now. Have you got them? Okay, Simon, I think, can see them. I cannot. Tell me when. Have you lost them? Yeah, I don't think this is a particularly easy sighting, to be honest, to navigate. I think we should bumble on. Megan, they are cool birds, absolutely. We had a lovely sighting of them in the morning, and they're around a lot. There's actually a nest up at Cruise Camp, and I know there's a few filming bodies up there right now trying to record some incredible stuff with their nests. Yeah, but with grass this long, I don't think we're going to get another view of them, but we shall bumble on and see what else we can find. There's dogs somewhere. I can hear the radio going crazy for the dogs in the west, but they haven't seen them in a very long time, so we'll let the west enjoy the dogs. I would love to see some spots. It's been a while. I mean, 2 days is a long time for not seeing spots here. They say the way they describe the sands is that you ninja kick a tree, a marilla tree, put your arms out because a leopard's going to fall out. Kick leopard. And of course we do not kick trees and leopards do not fall out, but that's the sort of general way that people describe the Sabi Sands. And Andrew was telling me a fascinating story yesterday about Ikanyeni's mother, and how a long time ago, Andrew's been around this area for a very, very long time, and she used to be the only relaxed female in the entire area. She was the only female that you really could spend a lot of time with and give your guests, back then Andrew was driving guests, a really good sighting. No other females were relaxed, and look at where we're at now. All the females, I would say, are mostly relaxed. I believe Luna up in the north is still a little bit skittish, but otherwise in terms of females, they're all very, very relaxed. We're lucky. We're lucky we get to spend this amount of time with these incredible animals. I don't know anyone whose heart just doesn't burst with love when they see a leopard. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's their spots, their coat, their coloration, their behavior, but leopards get under everyone's skin. Let's go in this way. Sorry everyone, I'm just looking at the ground. And crashing into a tree. Oh, do you see that butterfly? I've not seen that one this year. I wonder if we can get this on camera. This could be tricky. I realise I've not done nearly enough butterflies as I want to this season. Simon's telling me to stop. He's got a butterfly, I think. I don't know which one. Let's see what he's got in store for us. Simon's eyes are unbelievably sharp, to the point that it makes me feel, well, inadequate. Where do you see it, Sai? Oh, David, that's a very difficult question. Who's your favorite, leopard or hyena? Oh my goodness, well done, Simon. Wow. Spot on. I'm not entirely sure I'm going to be able to identify the species from this angle. It's definitely one of the paler ones. It could be a red tip. You can see it's got that orange dot. That's normally a key feature of the red tip, or the small orange tip. It looks quite yellow in colour. It might be the small orange tip. Butterflies are actually really difficult to get on camera. But maybe when the sort of morning time's the best time to really look for butterflies, because they haven't quite warmed up yet. Although it's very hot, they wait until the sun gets extremely hot, and that's when they'll start fluttering around. Well done, Simon, for that spot. We're going to keep bumbling, but we're going to send you across to Tswalu for a lovely silent segment at the dam.
Flowers, busy. Hello. Flowers, I don't know if you can copy me. I know you were looking for buffalo with your guest. We've got some here in Picnic Valley.
Well, we had an interesting moment not too long ago. So we obviously sat watching the same breeding herd as the little ones were playing and the adults were dust bathing. Just for your interest, Susan is the elephant on the right-hand side. And then all of a sudden there was trumpeting coming from the water. And now bear in mind, most of the elephants had come out of the dam ages ago, barring one cow, who's one of the mothers of the youngsters. I just have to tell you the story. And then, you won't believe it, this cow comes charging out, trumpeting from like the middle of nowhere, or from the dam. I know where she came from. And she came hurtling straight towards the herd that was dust bathing. So I was like, okay, this is interesting. And then she turned at the last second and started racing towards Hyena for no reason. I mean, we've been there for ages. And I don't know if she just panicked last minute, realizing that she wasn't with her herd. I actually don't know how it was, but I then raised my voice slightly, and she stopped dead in her tracks. But I reckon if I didn't stop, she would have only stopped her charge right next to the car, which I was not quite comfortable with, especially a big cow. Whew, so that was an interesting experience. And then she settled down. Like literally after that, she put her trunk down and she started dust bathing. So I think she just got a fright. Now Susan, on the other hand, her behavior has completely changed. That is what we would have expected from her, not from one of the mothers, the mature girls. But she's calmed down completely. Look at this. Hello, girl. Now, just before I went on leave, I had a really nice encounter with this whole herd, just on the boundary of Jajani and Quenga. Hello, girl, you're going to come and say hello today? And they all came out and around the car, and the little ones actually went to sleep. Hi, girlie. Yeah, I'm watching you. So she's now coming over to the car. I'm just going to lean slightly, but I do apologize if my head pops up with Susan. You have to keep a close eye on her. So if you're wondering how I identify this elephant, is a good example. You can see in her left ear there's a little hole. So I use that as a key identifying feature. You can see that over there. And then the other thing is that she's got a very square forehead, which you won't be able to see, and her tusks sort of curve inwards, almost like they're hugging her trunk. They're not tight around her trunk. I don't think it's going to cause any problems for her. It's actually quite a common trait that we see within elephants, because there is another elephant cow around a similar age that looks just like this. Her tusks are a little bit sort of more pointier towards the tip. They sort of taper in a little bit more, and she doesn't have the hole in her left ear. She's in one of the other smaller breeding herds, so sometimes you can get confused. But this is definitely Susan. So I'm really, really happy to see that she has calmed down, because she was a bit rowdy at one point. And yeah, it wasn't so nice, I'm not going to lie. It got a bit hectic at one point, but now she's calmed down, which makes me sort of quite happy. Jeremiah, I think you said she's stuffing her face. Apologies if that's not what you said. This is what I'd like to be doing, yes. So if I was a fan of knobthorn and sicklebush, I too would be, I wouldn't be grabbing trunkfuls, but I'd definitely be grabbing handfuls, or maybe I'd just go straight and rip the leaves off with my teeth. But no. No knobthorn and no sicklebush for me. And amazing as well, these animals also know which plants they can eat when they are not feeling particularly well, and sicklebush is a well-known sort of medicinal plant to treat stomach ailments. So I wonder if it helps elephants too. Can you imagine with all the things that elephants are eating? Susan, sorry, I'm going to have to sit up. No, I'm here. I know that you thought that I was laying flat in the car. Sorry, I have to just do that every now and then. Otherwise she gets quite cheeky and she comes all the way around the car, and she is tempted to touch it, and that is something we cannot let happen. As a safari guide, it is our duty to habituate these animals in a very kind way, of course, where we can all sort of benefit and not be too forceful on them. But it is also important that we set the boundary and we do not let the animals touch the vehicle. So that's what I've had to do with Susan. Everybody knows you have to just keep talking to her, otherwise she does push the boundaries a little bit.
For the month of January 2021, we are offering a chance to win a unique Wild Earth expedition to the magnificent Tswalu Kalahari. From the ancient Kortai's Koranenberg Mountains to the southern Kalahari's red sand dunes, Tswalu offers what travelers crave most: space and time. The winner will explore this landscape in a vehicle, on foot, or on horseback, with a chance to go behind the scenes with Wild Earth and of course meet the meerkats. The prize includes a 3-night stay for you and a friend at the luxury Motse Lodge, including flights from either Johannesburg or Cape Town. Open to all Wild Earth explorers who have signed up before the end of January 2021. Terms and conditions apply.
My name is Lauren, and I'm currently working in Djuma Private Game Reserve here in South Africa. I love answering your questions during the live safaris. It's my favorite part. It feels like you're on the vehicle with me, and I'm able to teach you exactly what you want to know. If you want to ask a question on Wild Earth, then you need to register on our website. Once registered, you must go to the live safari page and ask your question below the live feed.
Hello, boy. You are a monster. And he's coming right up to us. Hello, boy. Oh, settle down. Settle down. He is very, very close. He's pushing his trunk against the car. You can feel the car moving. Hey, 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 hey. Stop that.
Expect the unexpected here on Wild Earth daily.
Thank you very much. Now we arrive into this beautiful small watering hole here. And each elephant were just about to drink. Now they're moving off. And some of them already did. Some of them had just avoided, which is probably it's because so many of the water all around it. They've been maybe taking this drink over the night every time. So there it's also one of the female. She hasn't yet arrived into the watering hole yet. actually a beautiful herd. They just all walk past by. Sarah, so you're saying looks like she's sweating. Yeah, the temporal gland sweating there, so all the temporine secretions dripping down to there, already coming out. A lot of times, where on, especially African elephants, I'm just gonna try and drive around, which male and female sweat those, which male and female have these temporal glands. Sometimes you see them visible even on young ones started to sweat those, so it could be mean that either on stress or one way of showing that maybe this aggression taking place is, but more a lot of a stress that happens on these animals. But if it's a male, then yeah, these male bulls come en masse, but you're able to check the status by either smelling them so we're going to try follow them in this wood where it's not bad actually. So we saw their dung not far away, and that it was actually not an older dung there, as we saw. It's still wet enough for probably is the same herd. So this moving and grazing about, it's all about their favorite food, which is matriarch, which is a leader. She gotta make sure she makes plans to move the herds around quite regularly, change place to another quite often. Gonna take another move to the other side to get a good look. Now it looks like we've got a whole herd. For now, it's only those we can see. Some of them already walking past by, so it's a beautiful amount of group of elephants here. Anna, you're right. You're saying it's so cool to see so many elephants this morning. It's really cool, especially, well, the weather is not actually bad for them still. So, and it's going to in a time where it's going to be far too hot for them to move. This is a time they will be able to reach wherever they need to be. If they decided to be stationary here, as you can see, that female, she already put those one in a shed. If she's a matriarch, then she's going to hold everybody back. They're going to have to come back or perch around in this shed over here because they're going to have to listen to her as a leader. So what she's doing there with this dust, while she disturbed the ground with her foreleg, and she probably suck the dust into the trunk and blow the dust and the sand over her underparts, but backwards. And this is actually to get rid of a parasite that they all follow animals. Flies, those flies that follow buffaloes, even though they have hard skin, but they still feel those little flies landing on them. Lisa, you say you love the elephant's eye. They're so beautiful, you're right. They have very strong eyelashes as well. And those are just to protect the eye itself, not to get hurt from where they play with sand and things like that. Very rough sand, mud, and their eyes are still safe because these eyelashes are only protections against those eyes. So they love playing with dust, always. Even just after a swim or a mud wallow, if there is a possible of sand, they would put sand over them. Forward. Actually, we find them right in front of us because another beautiful perch where they probably it's going to be nice visible of her herd here. Oh. So they always prefer certain route they take when they're around. They'll always come back here again, maybe next week or maybe 2 days later. And take a drink into that, the very same watering hole we saw. And then from there they will move across, because now they're heading west. We're in Simbambile area, where they cross the border, western border now. We're following them in. So this is a herd that we're always talking about. Sometimes they move to the west. When we're talking about a herd that come from the west to the east into Juma. Now they visited a lot of open space here, because that grasses that is growing in this area, like this, it's all their favorite grasses. Signal grasses, very good, nutritious for all animals, including the elephants. But all of these buffalo grasses as well, higher in nutritious. But not all grasses that have those. Some of them are very only when they're just before seed. But these signal grasses are not buffalo grasses, even though throughout the year they support life of the animal, even in the winter. they're all just going to come out to the open area.
When you're up, then Lauren with a refreshing.
So we're going to stay put here to see if they all come out to the open area. And in the meantime, we'll be crossing you over to Lauren with a refreshing of the watering hole.
I'm just admiring a huge bird in the tree here. It's the yellow-billed. I could not figure out which species it was. It's the heron as well. Okay, we've got two different species here. How wonderful. So the one that's moving, the one on the right, is a yellow-billed stork. And then the much smaller one on the left is a grey heron. They're both water birds with long, dangly legs. But they have different beaks, and they do look different. We're at Buffelshoek Dam, and this is another wonderful place for birds. If you just sit for a little while and just pay attention, get your binos out, you'll start to notice all the wonderful birds that come down to the dam. Some dams are better than others for birds, I must say. But this one's particularly wonderful. Now, it's very difficult to see. We're working against the sun, but the breeding plumage will actually become pink, tinged pink, when the yellow-billed storks are getting ready to breed. But it's very difficult to see right now if that's the case. It could easily be mistaken for a flamingo, I guess, but it's pale pink. It's not bright, sort of bright pink. It's very, very pale, almost like a baby pink. But this happens in their breeding plumage. I'm not sure I would enjoy balancing on a branch like that. I didn't catch that name. I don't really know what you mean by social. Not many species will interact too much. And here you have a grey heron and a yellow-billed stork. They're not interacting. They're not essentially being social. They're both just hanging out in the same tree, I guess. If they're not competitors, if there's no competition between species here, they will sort of use the same habitat, utilize the same resources, and be in the same area. But they're not necessarily interacting. Now, of course, you do get some interspecific species interactions, but this is not what's happening here. They both like to perch. They both like to perch up high, and that's exactly what they're doing. They're no threat to one another. They're not going to harm or attack one another. But they both are regularly found around water bodies because of the food that they eat. You can see they've both got those big fisherman beaks. Immediately you can see that they use their beaks to sort of spear fish in the water. Sorry, our Eastern Channel is absolutely awful, which is why we sometimes don't know what's going on in the East. But yes, they'll spear fish. They'll frogs, insect, worms, crustaceans. And I think now they're just preening. Critter Freak, you're saying what elegant birds. I agree. What elegant. My bird app is just deciding to talk to me. Coco. Coco. No, that's not a Coco. Bird app. But yes, they're very elegant. I love the coloration. I love this sort of white feathers against the bright red and yellow. There's something very attractive about that color combination to me. There's a Deirdre's cuckoo somewhere. Where? That's a very good question. Now, in order to be able to sort of Sorry, Gwen. Darcy Ann, I know you're asking me a question. I'll just get Gwen to repeat it. Yes, Darcy Ann. So that is their joint. They bend their knee. It's not a straight sort of bone. So yes, it's not the same knee as a human has, of course. But yes, that's what those bumps are. It's a joint. Go away. We're being told to go away, Simon. And they also have quite a flexible joint at the foot as well. They've got specialized feet for wading through the water. So they're able to wade remarkably slowly and carefully in order to not disturb the sediment, the bottom of the water body, and to not really disturb too much of the water column. Because fish can detect vibrations. They have a lateral line, a really unique feature with lots of... I think the hippos are upset, Simon. We've not put them on yet. We can put you on. We will show you guys. And yes, this lateral line is lots of little jelly-filled pores, if you like, and a line across the body that are filled with hairs, and they detect pressure changes in the water column. They don't need to use their eyes, their ears. No, they've got receptors to detect pressure changes, and therefore fish can sense if something's coming, because of course when you move water, the pressure is going to change in that liquid medium, and they will be able to sense your arrival long before you arrive. And that's why these water birds have sort of unique features to move through the water very, very slowly in order to take the fish by surprise. The hippos are just there, Simon. You see them? I think of all the dams in Djuma, and I'm just talking about Djuma alone right now, Buffelshoek Dam actually has the highest number of hippos, believe it or not. Chitwa, of course, has a lot, but that's a different property. On Djuma, it's definitely Buffelshoek Dam. BJ is just close to Buffelshoek. I guess they've just named it after another property. I don't really think there's any sort of rhyme or reason to much of the dam names around here. Some of them have got stories, but it's just on Buffelshoek cut line. So we just need to take maybe our drive, should I say, 100 meters when you're in Buffelshoek. So they've obviously just named it after the property, but it's definitely not in Buffelshoek, it's in Djuma. I remember when this dam was empty when I first arrived here. It almost looked like a different planet. It was like a crater, really empty crater that had dried and cracked, and you could walk along it. There wasn't a single drop of moisture anywhere to be seen, and you could actually drive along it if you wanted from one end to the other. And we'd find a lot of predators here as well. But of course now it's just full, it's bursting at the seams. The reason the dams are so full is last summer was so giving. We also had lots of heavy rains last summer and almost risked flooding, actually. And therefore the dams didn't quite dry out last winter as they normally would, because there was so much water. It wasn't a harsh winter whatsoever. And therefore the rains this year have just added to the volume that was already present. Simon, I don't know if you can see these foxgloves. I don't know if we can get to it in time, but there's a bee pollinating the foxgloves, going inside each little glove. How lovely. Not sure if you're able to see it. Pollination's one of my favorite topics. Oh no, wait, I can't see it now. Is it in that one? It's going inside the little gloves. Not realizing it's pollinating, of course. it's gone. It was visiting all the flowers. It's a busy bee. I can't see it anymore. I love to get that in action. There's a wonderful butterfly, but that's not going to stay still, are you? Okay, Buffelshoek Dam, you have been a pleasure. I'm now deciding where we should go. There's so much choice out here. We now have 5 properties to traverse. So you have to decide what you want to go. There's a lot of talk on the radio right now about those Carmine Bee Eaters we found. Everyone's very excited. Annie, I don't know about the other locations that we come live from, I'm afraid. I'm sorry. You can ask each presenter when you go over to their feed and they can tell you the size and shape of their own property. But Djuma is 1,200 hectares. So it's big. It's absolutely big. And I think Buffelshoek is 2,800. Yes, it is. So Buffelshoek's much bigger and it's more sort of rectangular. Djuma's quite square-ish. This 1,000. But as for the other locations, maybe when we head over to the other presenters, they can tell you the size of their locations. Unfortunately, I do not know. But Djuma's wonderful. It's very productive. We've got a dry riverbed that runs right through. We've got lots of dams, natural pans, some open areas like Quarantine and Sandy Patch, and in other really dense areas. We border Buffelshoek, Torchwood, Chitwa, Little Gowrie, Hoffmans, Arathusa and Simbambili. So we border on a lot of properties. So animals cross in and out constantly. And I think you've just inspired me with that question. I think I shall go into Buffelshoek. Inspiring questions. Why is Buffelshoek Dam called Buffelshoek Dam? Well, I'm going to go and search for that answer. Why? No, I'm only joking. Why is the best question that you can ask out here. You've always got to ask, why is an animal doing that? Why? Why is a tree growing like that? Why are those flowers positioned like that? You've got to ask questions. But I think Buffelshoek is a great shout. It's such a large property. It involves a lot of driving, but it's worth it. It's incredible. We're really, really lucky to be traversing these properties. 5. We're very, very lucky. Okay, Simon, are you ready to head north once again? Okay, so I am going to cross over into Buffelshoek. I'm going to send you across to Andrew to see what he's now looking for.
Thanks, Lauren. So yeah, indeed, traversing right is great. As now we are on Simbambile, searching around for possible lions in this area. And there's a long way to come in, but sometimes it's nice. We get to see animals that we don't often see. There's a presence of, probably seen the zebra, wildebeest, bunch in this area. So I have left the elephants because they're now disappearing into the wood. So they would probably do their forage.
Nigel, come in.
Okay.
Is it just you? Is Sips out as well today?
He is, yeah. I spoke to him now. I think he's in Chitwa at the moment. Yeah, he's looking for zebra. So he's like...
Sorry, everyone. I was in the middle of a conversation there.
That you can, and then you can't find zebra or giraffe.
Copy. Sorry about that, everyone. I have very little time to be on the radio today. Okay, we are crossing into Buffalo's Hook. There we go. Just like that, we have done it. Crossed that boundary line that we were never allowed to traverse before. And as I mentioned earlier, there's quite a lot of... Oh, sorry, guys. There's quite a lot of hype about the Carmine Bee Eaters happening right now. And it was such a wonderful find the other day, completely unexpected. And I think I'm going to head back to that area. Apparently they're not breeding here. They're not in their sort of breeding phase. And you can normally tell immediately, of course, you know by their distribution and their movements, they're not breeding here. But apparently when they are in their breeding plumage, they're much redder. They're a vibrant cherry red. And then when they're not in their breeding phase, they sort of, not dull, because they're definitely not dull, but they lose that reddish tone and they return to pink. So I am going... Guys, you're making life very, very difficult for me. I don't want to drive too close to you all. They love to be on the ground here. What do we have here? Let me get a closer look. Oh, I mean, the birds do fly away, please don't get me wrong, but it's just, I don't like continually driving into them, and they're obviously not impressed with me. Now, it's the sand grouse for sure. I'm just trying to figure out what one it is. I think it could be the double-banded. With that iconic yellow rim going round the eye. The males look different. The females and males look different when it comes to the double-banded sand grouse. But you can see how flat they lie on the ground. And since they're not letting me get past them, well, we may as well talk about them. But they do fly once the car gets closer, I promise. The females have very barred marking. I'm not sure if you're able to see that on their back. However, brave little birds. Yes, they wait till last minute and... You're always worried, and they will never ever allow themselves to get hit by a car, I can assure you, but yes, the thought of doing so is absolutely horrible. They just congregate on the ground. And that's what they're doing now. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and probably a lot more up ahead. And they just congregate. They're seed eaters, so being on the ground is a perfect place to look for seeds. They're said to be monogamous, so you'll always find the males and females together. And I say said to be monogamous, I use that loosely, and there's a difference in physical appearance between males and females. Okay, birdies, are you going to let us drive past? One hopes. Let us try. Oh. There we go. And off they go. They're probably just going to plonk their bottoms down further up on the road ahead, and we'll have to navigate past them again. But as I was saying, we're going to head to Kyamanzi. It's a very gorgeous dam, one of my favourites, and very productive. Justine, you love bumbling with Wendy. I'm glad. Wendy loves bumbling with you guys. Team Wendy is a good team. It's my favourite car. Trishala and I both love Wendy. I don't know why Rusty and Rusty was always seen as a boy's car. Not through being sexist, just it's got a lot more room. So for the tall humans, here's a European. For the tall humans like Brent and... even David Hancock, Andrew, those presenters that are a lot taller than I am, they fit it perfectly. Wendy's not got as much legroom, and therefore the girls fit it perfectly. But I'm glad you enjoy bumbling with Wendy. I think it's a European. Now that it's flown, oh, actually, I'm wrong. Sorry, everyone, that is not a European. Apologies, that is a lilac-breasted. How do I know that? It has a lilac breast. It's amazing, these bird names. So sorry, it's not a European, but it's still beautiful, shiny and colourful in all its glory. Sometimes, and I'll be honest enough to say I do this too, you get caught up in your own little missions and you get very involved in looking for spots, looking for leopards, because we love the leopards. We want to show you the leopards. But sometimes it's just nice to not have a plan and just bumble and spend a little bit more time looking at birds. Spend a little bit more time looking for insects. You never know, you might bump into a leopard, but sometimes you've also got to look for other things. I'd love to see a leopard today, I really would, but I think it's nicer just to go around the dams and spend a little bit of time focusing on other things. There's so much beauty out here. And at the very start of your guide training, they describe it almost like, an orange is not a good example. I'm trying to think of a fruit with lots and lots of layers. And you have to peel and peel. I'm normally quite good at my fruits, but I can't think of one right now. But imagine you start off with the basics. Learning your mammals, learning the landscape. But then slowly but surely you've got to start peeling back those layers. Peel off one layer and start digging into another. Peel off another layer, then everything becomes connected. Everything in nature is connected, even although it may not appear so automatically. It's all connected. It's always striving for balance. This system that we are looking at is alive, continually fighting its own battles to strive for balance. Never mind the battles that an ecosystem or any habitat has to face when humans come into play. Everything strives for balance, even in our own bodies. Our body strives for balance. It may not always be successful, but balance is key. And that's why anything negative, any intervention, humans intervening, as hard as it can be sometimes, trust me, I'm on the ground here, it can be very hard. You've got to let nature take place because it in itself is striving for balance. And as a whole, it normally wheedles out the weak. The weak are not the ones to survive and not the ones to continue their bloodline. Liam, lilac-breasted rollers are not. We have them all year round. They're very common out here. They're the prettiest birds of the bush with the ugliest call. No offense, roller. Something like that. It's not pretty for such a exquisite bird that they don't migrate. They're here all year round. They're a resident. The Europeans do. The Europeans do migrate here, but not to breed, to feed and to feast. But from a distance, I thought that was a European. They're very similar. They're almost the same size, give or take. Europeans bigger. And it's just a difference in the coloration, a difference in the plumage. Okay. Goodbye, Mr. Roller, or Mrs. Roller. We're going to try and see if we can search for these bee eaters. Everyone's asking where they are. Where did you see the bee eaters? Where did you see the carmines? So let's go back and see if we can find them. Maybe we won't find them again. Maybe it was a lucky one-off sighting, but we can at least try. Sand grouse. My goodness me, living life on the edge. That's what I say. Now, there's lots of different ecosystem examples where once human intervene, you throw absolutely everything out of balance. And the effects can be small, minuscule, that maybe humans as a whole can be absolutely catastrophic. And there's a really, really good example in, I think it was somewhere in Northwest America. It will come to me, where there was a small fishing community, and normally the sharks eat the and goes from predator right down to vegetation, but generally this species of shark, they feed on the scallops. But then humans came along and they decided scallops are gorgeous, they're lovely to eat, we're going to create an industry here. So there was a scallop industry, and it was thriving and it was sustainable. They were sort of leaving enough scallops for the sharks also to eat. And therefore, I shall finish my story in just a little bit. We're going to send you over to Andrew for now.
Thank you very much, Lauren. So we now here still we say that we're gonna head up in the west. And earlier we mentioned about sometimes we find zebra in this far west. Here we are now. You can see all plain zebra mixed with a lot of impalas. And all just having a great time of starting to get a little bit warm, but they're still enjoying it, still up in the sun, which is great. So zebra, they're mainly animal that they prefer tall grasses. So there it's all benefit what is happening between the two species, where they're even not all of them, they're all species that they have to be all gathering for that beneficial. There has to be also wildebeest. Zebra, they're so beautiful striped. Emma, he says it's fascinating. It's true, but very interesting fact about these species. I know there's no wildebeest here, but you would find wildebeest within a species. So what happened? Zebra, they don't mind tall grasses, tip end, where then wildebeest will go for medium short. Then there has to be the zebra forward or for leading front if it's that needed. And then for a turn, impala also, they're mixed feeder, which they don't mind any of type of grasses what left behind from any other animal. And they have a split lip, which able them to feed on anything that is around. So these two zebra, it's just amazing how they do that. Often, one will look other way, another one will look other way. It's probably about check one another's back, even though there's impala, but you get used to it that when they don't have impala with them. So both species, sense of smell, sight, hearing, it's great. That's what helps them. So it's so important that also they're in an open space here. We're more likely to be this open space to appear maybe a cheetah, where cheetah hunting opened, and they will know that in advance, and they would make a play and run immediately out of here. Scott, so you like the mane of a zebra since it's straight up, and about that mane straight up, I don't know if you ever heard of the zebra, that they're always a very difficult animal to tell if that animal is healthy or sicknesses that take places. So then you can tell by looking at the mane. And the mane, when the animal's sick, more likely to fall sideways, either right or left, but it's going to be down, so it's not straight. So what you see there, the mane is straight up, it's because the animal, I think all of them are healthy. But indeed, such a beautiful mane there. Well, since they're in a group like this, when it comes to the communications, understanding that each of animal, they understand their own species of sound communication, but this prey species, they also understand of any carnivore species that make sound, such as a leopard, lions, and the dangers that making call around them, they were able to tell, at least knowing what is it, if it's a lion or if it's a leopard, just from the call, or from the sense of smell, if there's any danger around here. So I'm going to carry on search such a big open area here. Hopefully we bump on sighting that we can stick around for slightly longer than everybody will love it. Let's just hope, since I'm still searching around here in this area.
We made it to Kayamanzi. The hugest of the hugest dams we have here. I know that doesn't make sense, but it's very large. So I'm just going to let Simon work his magic and admire this dam for a minute or two. So we're going to bumble on and see what else we can find around this dam.
Thank you very much. So I have left the whole bunch of zebras still doing their best or feeding around there. So I'm checking here the whole open area. As you can see, it's actually such a big open area in this area. You see now we're facing, actually that's the west part of the reserve. And that's where we're going to be searching straight ahead. Well, it's not in a nice open area like this. It's so good because then you have a hope. Maybe if it's in a cheetah, this is an area where more likely cheetah will be. Because of its open area for them to do their hunt comfortably. Where they don't like to hunt very much in the thicket because then they'll run over wood and things due to the speed they use and they focus at the same times on their prey species to cut down. So this is how I'm going to be checking straight. So let's hope we find something. Yeah, but according to the guys, there was no cats, like a leopard around here this morning. So it's just gonna take it a little bit of a time. It's also such a beautiful flowering in this area around. You can see. We now look at these flowers. There's wild hibiscus flower, wild hibiscus flowers. Most of the time, they tend to show a lot of a beautiful flower this time of the year. Now I'm just going to point right inside that beautiful flower. Now it's not going to be easy, but if you look inside there in this flower, this is where the pollen is. And that mainly collected by honeybees and any difference of wasps for their cells of a nest. They take it back to their nest, most especially honeybees around here, where we have honeybees sometimes, but hardly find them. You gotta know where they move around too much. But interesting about this flower, all the hibiscus flowers, every time the weather is cool off, then they just open enough, these flowers. But then when it gets so much of a hot, they mainly just slowly fold it up, but preventing the pollen that is not actually able to burn off or anything. And also inside there's a storage for the water and anything where it's benefit a lot of other small insects such as a butterfly, or since, when it changed to the next stage of life, and the feeding methods also change for them. So instead of feeding straight from the trees or plants, then they will suck in a liquid, which that liquid then can't be any type of water. It's got to be in a specific liquid which form from inside this butterfly to sustain their lives. But mouth structure is like a straw of things. Yellow, he says looks medicinal. I'm not sure if it's a hibiscus flower, it's medicinal for sure. I'm going to double check that. You might be quite right there. But it's quite actually few of them. The reason I thought was not a lot of time you come across. Like this. So it's actually quite a challenging, and it's quite a really interesting to actually witness a lot of yellow flower that's taking place around there. If you listen and also. Actually Franklin doing their communication. And that's a cocky Frank calling, making its call right sometimes around, or could be any one of the logs, and that travel way communicate with such other members that could be around. And yet you say it's such a lovely sighting. Indeed it is. And, you know, flowering time, it's only this time of year where winter and it's all going to be going back to it. So I'm gonna carry on drive, see if I find anything in this open area again. Little mound there. I don't know if we're able to take you through. There we go. Our cocky Franklins that we just talked about earlier. So it looks like no response in this bird. It's just wasting its time calling from the top of the mound. And I'm going to be carrying on here, sending you across to Yapi.
Good morning. Welcome to And Beyond Ngala. Myself, I'm Yapi, and behind the camera we've got BK. Now, this morning we've been looking for lions, and we've had tracks of a male lion and a lioness with 2 cubs in this very area. We're not exactly sure where they are, and at this point we've kind of lost the tracks. But we're sure that somewhere within this clearing up ahead from us, at this point it's already quite hot, so I think that these animals have more than likely gone to go find some shade and a little spot to lay down somewhere. Now, it was a very quiet morning this far. There are some general game here and there, and there's just a breeze that's picked up, so I'm hoping that we might see a little bit of late morning movement from the animals. Otherwise, we are expected to see a storm later this afternoon, which should also affect animals' behavior, and hopefully the animals might be a little bit more active in the humidity of the late afternoon. So I think from here what we'll do is we'll continue and see if we find any fresher signs. And make sure that we have a good look in the shade. Now, one thing the lions are extremely good at is finding shade and using it very, very effectively. Sorry, Liam, I did not get your question there. I believe it was, how do you lose animal tracks? In which case, animal tracks are very on hard ground. It's extreme. How do animal tracks disappear? So, animal tracks are very faint, and especially on hard ground. This time of the year, we have our rain season, which means that these soils, the top layer of the soils, get extremely thick, and when the water runs over it, it hardens up afterwards in the sun. Just because of the general terrain in this area, there's almost no visible tracks on the road, except in the soft sandy parts. So that makes it very, very tricky. Also,
apologies about that. I don't quite know what happened to Ngala. Once again, I was listening to my radio, but we have actually, well, you caught me at a good time. We've just arrived to Big Dam. Big Dam. Right on the Mangalaty boundary. And again, just a really, really fantastic area to check for the species that we here at Djuma don't get to see too often, be it cheetah, jackal. I know lots of other properties are extremely lucky with them. But here in the Lowveld, well, no, sorry, in Djuma, the area that we are in, we don't get to see too many of them. So I'm just going to position. How is this, Simon? Not much is happening, I'm afraid. It's far too hot. I don't know what the temperature is currently sitting at right now, but it got too hot too quickly, and that's why the hyena den became very inactive very quickly. That's why June moved, and that's also why we're not seeing too much of other animals. Not one single leopard has been found. They've managed to find Madash, the dogs, but sadly, no leopards. And I don't believe any lions. Big Dam is really beautiful though. It's a strange shape. But I just think when you're in Buffelshoek, you may as well. We're going to get lucky one day. Hard work always pays off. And just an update on the Carmine Bee Eaters. No luck. Everybody's asking me, Lauren, where are they? Where did you find them? And I feel guilty now for not calling them in. I just didn't realize that it was such a big thing and no one else had seen them. And I think Simon and I just got incredibly lucky that day. They don't appear to still be there. I mean, if they're not breeding. So I think we just got incredibly lucky. We were in the right place at the right time. And now I feel guilty. Alice, very probably. I haven't seen one. at this dam, but very, very probably. Most of the larger dams tend to hold on to their water, if that makes sense. They retain their water even in winter. Just like Chitwa, it doesn't go fully empty. And those larger dams are the ones that tend to have lots of crocodiles in them. Which is why all the sort of species that come here to drink get incredibly nervous. We've got some impala just over here, Simon. They're not drinking, they're actually eating, they're grazing. But when they do come to the water's edge, because they do need to drink, they do need to hydrate, it's very, very scary because they don't know. Is there a crocodile? Are there many crocodiles? That's why it's a very stressful event. And also by bending over like that with your back turned, you never know what might sneak up on you. So these guys are not drinking. But that's why impala behave that way. Lida, no. I don't know any of the dams here that actually flow in and out. A dam is generally a stagnant water body. There's no inflow and there's no sort of outflow, which is exactly why they can become stagnant. They can become extremely stagnant because there's no influx of fresh water. And this is what happened at Chitwa. Some of you will remember, I know that for sure, that we went to Chitwa one day. I was with Tristan, and there was just dead fish everywhere on the embankment. It was such a feast for the predators. And Mr. T-Dog Tingana was there himself feasting. I'll never forget it. And basically, oxygen is what we breathe, but it's also the master variable for all aquatic life. Yes, in the water, all aquatic life still requires oxygen. They just extract it in a different way. And in dams that have not like the Mara River that's constantly flowing, there's no inflow of water. The only influx you're ever going to get is rainwater, heavy rainfall. And as the hippos wallow, we've actually got a hippo over there, staying very silent. But as the hippos wallow in the water, they don't need the oxygen. They're not breathing underwater, remember. But they are constantly urinating and defecating. Now, they feed ashore. They come ashore to feed, but during the day, they defecate a lot. And in bodies like what happened at Chitwa, because of the no influx of water, no inflow, the body became very stagnant. There was not enough oxygen being pumped in. And ammonia, methane, hydrogen sulfide, and other sort of grotesque chemicals built up. And what happened is that basically this created hypoxic conditions. And hypoxic is low oxygen concentration. You get anoxic, which is no oxygen, but hypoxic is low oxygen concentration. And this is what caused a mass fish die-off. It was bizarre. I've never seen anything like it, because when a hippo defecates, their feces will sink to the bottom of the river. They're heavy, they'll sink. That's why we don't see them. And think of all the hippos all defecating every single day. That will be a sort of mass of poop, which will start to decompose. And bacteria in the water will start devouring it. But the bacteria will multiply and grow and grow and grow because there's more nutrients. And the bacteria themselves are consuming all the oxygen. And therefore, effectively, they're deoxygenating the body. The more poop, the more bacteria, the less oxygen. The more hippos, Chitwa went through an area of having, I'm sure it was around 70 hippos, far exceeding the maximum carrying capacity. So the more hippos, the more poop, the more bacteria, the less oxygen. And that's what happened. It caused temporary pools of hypoxic conditions. And it caused those fish in those areas of the dam to suffocate. Microbes and bacteria hoover up oxygen. They hoover it up. And in doing so, they also produce chemicals like ammonia and hydrogen sulfide, which also kill the fish. So that's what happens in dams that become too stagnant. So in answer to your question, there's no inflow here. We need the rain. So I'm going to head up to the Mangulete border, see what I can find.
insane is that animal?
This is out of this world. Fantastic. Good, Mama.
Wow, what a way to start off.
It's just such an incredible privilege to be out here. It just keeps on delivering.
There you go, there you go. Heart is pumping right now.
3, 2, 1. You are live, you are live.
Look at this, everybody. We've got a live kill.
The cock's holding the tail. It's holding tight. Lucky wildebeest.
There's nowhere to go. This is a disaster in the making.
Something that I have never seen before in my entire life that you are now watching live.
My heart is in my mouth, everybody.
Look at this. It's gonna make it. It's going, it's going.
This is just too magical. Hi, little guys. That's great, isn't it? Look at that. Scuba Steve has got a friend.
You've got a friend in me.
It couldn't be a better morning. This is just too special.
Oh my goodness, we've got a turtle.
How epic is the fact that we're coming to you live from the Chobe River?
It's the most incredible feeling to be here. This is live and we're in Rwanda. This is a very, very different adventure, charged with emotion.
I did not think I would ever face my fears like this. We're still just admiring this dam, everyone. It's very peaceful here and there's a nice breeze. We're not in the shade, but there's still a breeze. And just building on what I was saying, I think I got a little bit carried away, but it's a very interesting topic. Temporary, stagnant areas with no oxygen. And it could just be a seasonal shift, and this is why we talk about nothing in nature is static, nothing is permanent. Seasonal shifts, environmental shifts are happening all the time. Now, when I first arrived here, the year before, winter had been harsh, and then summer had proceeded to be harsh, which meant it was almost drought-like conditions, which caused the following winter, when I arrived, to be a big struggle for lots of organisms out here. There really wasn't much water, and that caused a lot of predators and even your big herbivores to congregate around pumped pans like Galago, a guaranteed water point, because all the other dams were drained. Treehouse empty, Twin Dams empty, Buffelshoek Dam empty, and Gowrie Dam empty. No puddles, no small bodies. Where are you going to go? The only water in the winter that I first arrived was the pumped pans, which is Galago. But now, the winter that I believe we're going to go into after this summer, I think it will be plentiful. There will be enough water to go around, I hope. So seasonal shifts are always happening, and that's what happened at Chitwa. It was a really harsh summer, brought on a harsh winter, and caused a lot of stress for the hippos, and it had a huge knock-on effect on that water hole. So in order to sort of stop the leaching of oxygen, you need heavy, heavy rain. It's the only influx, the only inflow of water. The Mara River has actually suffered from hypoxia and slight bouts of anoxia in the past, but luckily the river flows. When the river's flowing, that will never, ever happen. So the hippos, I know it doesn't sound very nice, but it's quite an integral component of how dams work. The hippos create a sewage sludge, if you like, and that's what's happening underneath the dam. We can't see it, but it's creating nitrogen-rich pools. It's a communal toilet, basically, and there's far too much microbes and bacteria. And although dead fish sounds disastrous, it can and it can't be. A mass die-off is disastrous, but not a few fish. And of course, it would provide a great food source for all the scavengers. Tingana was seen eating the catfish, which would contain ammonia from the water body, but luckily in such low conditions it wouldn't have affected the leopards. Just as the temperatures would not get so low here to freeze. You need real sub-zero temperatures in order to freeze water bodies, like in Scotland. But no, not out here. In winter, the dams just tend to really, really dry up. There's nothing left. But that was 2 years ago I witnessed that. Last year, the winter was very giving, which also affects the vegetation. So the first winter I arrived, it was so barren. You could see for miles. There was not a drop of greenery. It was monotonous. The landscape was dry. Everything was dead. And then what you find is, because we had such a good summer, the winter that we've just been through retained onto a lot of that vegetation. It still actually remained quite dense. And therefore, now that we're in summer, once again, it's even denser. This is the most lush, or lushest, I have ever seen this area, the Lowveld. It's so green, the grass is so long, and the bush is so thick. And this makes for happy animals. No stressful conditions. No lack of resources, no pressure. It will reduce the amount of competition, intra-specifically and inter-specifically. I do think we are exposed to quite intense sunlight on this dam wall, so I do think we are going to bumble on. It's getting really rather uncomfortable, I must say. Whew. At least when you drive, you get a little bit of a breeze. A hot breeze. It's not exactly... Well, it doesn't cool you down that much. And then we're just going to quickly head to the boundary, see if we can see any signs of jackals or cheetahs, and then we'll look back south again. This gets very dense and very thick here. And that's why when we come up here, we can also see such a plethora of birds. The bird life, it's just teeming with bird life right now. I'm sure Simon can give you some mobile pans. You're not all too familiar with this area. This is the very north of Buffelshoek. In about 200 meters we'll be at the Mangaleti boundary, and we could never ever come up here before. It's magical that we can. Oops. That's me bumping along the road, not Simon. JB, I have a funny feeling you already know the answer to this question, but it's incredibly difficult. Incredibly. In the past few weeks, everyone in the area has been talking, it's raining leopards. Why are they saying that? Because we've been so lucky. I remember last summer we struggled. We struggled for a long time, especially Steve and I. We were the Christmas crew last year as well, to find animals. And it's not that the animals are not there. They are, but look at what we're dealing with. Even if you find tracks, great. Okay, they look relatively fresh. But you've got a window from from curfew, from evening curfew until the curfew's lifted, when drives can start in the morning. That animal could have moved any time in that window. So they're still fresh, yes. But how fresh? Well, that's a tricky one. You've got to be able to follow that animal. So you can see, yes, it's going in this direction. Great. But then as soon as the tracks start to veer off, you're in trouble. This is very, very thick and dense. A leopard could be there right now and you just wouldn't see it. The grass is too long. So Debbie is very, very difficult. I think I enjoy coming up. Sorry about that, everyone. We normally get good signal at the Mangaletti boundary, but we have just came to Coppice's Dam. Look at that beautiful female waterbuck. She's very pale. Hold on, let me get my binoculars out. She looks far paler than normal. Of course, my binoculars are all tangled up in my radio. Of course. It's like your headphones. When you pull out your headphones and, oh my goodness, they're so tangled. Okay. Yes, this female waterbuck is remarkably pale. Not leucistic or anything like that, just very, very white in coloration. Resting in the sun as well. I think he would be a little bit cooler, dearest, if you went into the shade. Such wonderful, beautiful buck. Way down with that heavy, shaggy coat. Can you imagine? I'm struggling in this heat, really struggling today. It's very hot. And yet, luckily the hairs are hollow, similar to a polar bear. They're tubular and hollow, which allows for them to lose heat in very, very hot conditions so that they don't suffer. And at least she's right next to water. I can see some other females off in the distance. I'm not sure Simon will be able to get them. They're much darker. I wonder why she's so pale. I'm sure it benefits to be paler. Oh, there you go, Sai. Well done. White generally reflects, black absorbs. Don't want to wear all black here. I love wearing the colour black. It's not really a colour, is it? It's a shade. It's one of my favourite shades to wear. But out here, really, it absorbs far too much heat. Gwen, can I just check you're still there? It's very quiet, and I just hope our signal is A-okay. Haley, I guess they just enjoy being around water bodies. No, the males normally set up their territory around water, hence the name waterbuck. You won't find them in it. You won't find them swimming in it. It doesn't mean they won't run into it if they are chased by a predator. They would, but generally speaking, they're not in the water. But they're very water-dependent animals, and on hot days like this, I cannot even begin to describe to you how hot it is. We may have to seek shade soon. I don't know how long Simon and I can bear it, but on a hot day like this, it's really beneficial for any animal to be around the water. Normally, the females will also be around the male. The bulls themselves are very territorial, so considering the fact that they set up their territories near water, because they are water dependent. Sorry, I'm just checking. I need to be on the radio right now. Okay. There we go. So the females will be around the bull. It benefits the females to be around a territorial bull, but they will move. So although the sort of males will stay within their territory, the female herds will actually move, and they'll visit different bulls' territory, which will always be around water. And the bigger the water hole, the more water, obviously, and the tastier the vegetation. So normally the vegetation around water holes, it's very delicious and soft and nutritious and palatable. Everything that a herbivore wants. Good resources. You've got water right here and ideal food. The bulls will attempt to keep the females. So when the females are moving through, the sort of dominant bull in that territory will try to keep them, obviously, for mating purposes. He wants to set up a harem, just like zebra, just like hippos. but the females will move. They move their herds and visit different bulls. And they are said, a study actually showed that they visit their favourite bulls more often. And it's not even to do with the bull, it's to do with the resources that he has. So say there's a bull here that has a wonderful water point and great resources, great access to food. They'll visit him, they'll favour him rather than other bulls who have maybe not got the best water point and not the best food. Now, I am going to bumble on. We either need a breeze or shade, I'm afraid. That rhymed. I'm a poet and I don't even know it. Yeah, the heat gets to your head after a while, everyone. But unfortunately, we will bumble and talk as it's just far too hot. Going back to shifts and nothing in nature is static, the hyenas are a perfect example. Yes, they're my favourite, absolutely, and I love to talk about them, but they're just a perfect example of daily shifts based on environmental shifts. So on hot days like this, there's no way they'll be at the den. There's no shade there, it's not comfortable. So they will be active most likely before we go out on drive. So it's not that the den is inactive. We use that word and it's probably not terribly correct. It's not inactive. It's just not active when we go there. Most likely it'll have been active just before that sun comes up. And as soon as the sun starts to break up over the horizon, it becomes far too hot. So they just shift. And what you find is on the colder days and the overcast days, and it's been like that for a few days, they'll be active much later in the morning. Sometimes you can spend the entire morning with them. And again, it's just a daily shift that's based on environmental factors. Oh, thank goodness. Andrew is back with us. So Simon and I are going to find some delicious shade and we're going to send you back across to Andrew.
Thanks, Lauren. I'm also happy to actually hear from you that you're still around. I actually disappeared west, but now I'm back, in Djuma. But now we have a young elephant in a shed, all by itself. Young bull. Just gonna go backwards. Still got him there? Yep. Cool thing. So what happens is probably maybe for now separated from the rest of the group. Where they love doing that, especially when it comes to an age where they started to be independent as a young male. What happens that the other herd are not far away here from this area. So this is not a herd that we saw earlier. This is a different herd or group trying to smell at us. Due to the hot that is taking place now, most of and yet you say it's quite a lovely sighting with this young bull elephant. You're truly right. All you hear on the background, it's a wake-harder bird, capped turtle dove. it's getting so hot for them to be able to move around. But they still need to eat, so they will spend a lot of time under these trees, marula trees, for shade while they're feeding. Oh, it looks like I can hear the other member, but probably in a river on the other side there. So let me just reverse back. Gonna try see if we can still keep him there. Okay. Willie, so you're saying the bush is very big? Yeah, indeed, you're right. And the bushes here, it's very thick this time of year. Where this is. We're in actually wet season, so that means there's the rainfall is during a wet or during a summer. That's where you see a lot of wet or green bushes. Then the winter for us is dry and it doesn't rain at all. So all that green grasses that you see here, in the winter you won't see anything like this. And that elephant, if it's in the winter, then you would see it clearly then. Because it's going to be so much of an open. So the elephants spend a lot of time standing up, even if he's still a young bull. You would sit in a shade away from the heat, but when they do that, standing up, they switch legs, which mainly the 3 leg would be supporting the whole body weight, standing still, one rest, and for a turn, the other one will rest, and then that other one that was resting, stepping on the ground. So switching them all of them. And the tail is doing its best on the back side to wipe off these flies. So we keep hearing the other noises in the bush, probably other member, so it looks like they're maybe not far away from him. So you're saying elephants, they have good memory, and indeed they have a good memory, and that makes them remembering things that happened many years ago. And the bad thing most that ever happened to them, this is what makes them to remember all the time. They walk past the area, the memory will come back. They will know this is the bad area we went past earlier. Just gonna turn around. turn around here, trying to follow him, and hear some of the noises in the background, so it's probably a lot of a member on front there. So I'm gonna return back to that area just to see if how many member in the area where he's heading right now. Keep trumpeting. I'm not sure if they're distressed or something. They're not lacking about that there. But I only hear them, I cannot see them. Oh, the young bull. Oh, there they are, the rest of their member. We're gonna have to go down close by to where they are. So it looks like all just, wet. They've probably been in a water hole, what I can see from the distance. Where it's actually best time of TJ, so you're asking what is my memorable with an elephant? Is a while ago what happened, close to one of the camp that I used to work, was one of a young member that died, young elephant in the area where we were in. So what we seen there for the first time, the day that young one died, we saw what happened. They're all just gonna get around and make a lot of noises. So they spend 3 days in the area not to move away because of the sadness that they felt. And then again, a week later, they went away, where we thought they might maybe just gone without coming back. But we saw the whole member again come back later in the area, check, and they spent another 2 days in the area. And there was a near water hole where it's quite cold and they have drink close by, but then it was not all about feeding there. It was all about remembering, and they're still weeping for the member that died in the area. So they were all about sorry that happened in that member. But it continuously for nearly a year, they always coming in the area. When they're in the area, they make a lot of noise. They started to make a lot of noises. This is when that carcass was probably like 3 months later on. So that time, every time they visit, and they make a lot of trumpeting, throw out these young little bones, and then off they go from there. So we used to recognize that group of elephants that time, because every time we know they're heading in the area, we know is that a member again. For the whole year, they've done that. So for me then, that's where I experienced the memory of this animal that they kept with them, and things that happen during their lives. If it's bad, then they keep it with them, not to forget it. So that was my memory. But I never have actually bad experience with them. So this is one of the young bull, as you can see, a little bit off, checking us out there. But he's wet, dark, so he's still wet. Nola, you say you love the tusk that they're still white, so it's because they've been in the water now and they're showing clearly white because now the coat is all dark and the only object that is white is these tuskers. And this is all about, they just swim now and they'll get dirty again because they use them for when they eat, support the trunk when they break off the branches, so eventually it does get dirty a little bit. They're the whole members. I think this is what we heard from the other side. So swimming, it's not all about getting cleaned. What you see there after that stream, they're all pouring dust over them. So usually it's all cool off. And again, they need to play in sand, get dirty. But it's also protection against their skin. Flapping your ears because of the temperature that is now picked up so much high. It looks like one young one is on the ground there. All I see is just a little bit of a movement. So I'm gonna stay put here. Hopefully these elephants, I know they might actually sometimes push away or come towards us because the water's back there.
There's a butterfly on that roadside pimpernel, Simon. Do you see it? It's actually stationary Oh no, it's not. Would you believe it? We can admire the roadside pimpernel. One of the best colours out here in the bush. I don't know what you would call that sort of bright orange. Does it have a name? Sunset orange of the roadside pimpernel. So fantastically beautiful. Doesn't match any of the other colours that you see out here. But they are common. Hence the name. You will find them along the roadside. It's not necessarily a unique sighting, but it's still very beautiful. The roadside pimpernel. And of course, bright colours attract the insects. And why are they doing that? Why are they trying to attract the insects? Well, they're trying to get them to pollinate. Lure them in with deliciously bright colours and scents. Now, I actually wrote this down for you. I am just trying to find it because I've forgotten the name already. The heat is getting to my head. But I learned about this wonderful plant. Just let me see if I can find it. I'm probably not going to be able to find it in this short time, but I will. I'll find it for you. I'm going to tell you the story of this wonderful, unique plant and how it manages to pollinate. So bear with me. The next time you see me, I'll have this name for you.
We still have our elephants here. And even though it looks like they're going to move away, but they'll probably going to take it easy around this river, maybe inside the river. But for now, it looks like it's another puddle of water there where they have come across. It loves it. Anything's a water mud that's for the elephant to love. And they're so lovely animals. They all take care of one another in a group. The whole group members all responsible. The older one all responsible for this young one. Doesn't matter which is which, was the mother. And they're all just gonna make sure everybody stay put and safe. Lee, you're saying you love the wagging tail. Yeah, it's really cool when you do them that. You know, but it's all about making sure there is nothing land on their backside. These flies are gonna sometimes bother them. It's better for the animal to have tail. It's always reason. Some species they will use the tail as a communication. Like cats, most. Antelope, they'll use them for follow one another when they move. It's got to be in a unique color of that tail. Somehow, for impala, it's white. When they run, you only see white. So they will keep one another in number when they run. But for the elephants, it's so important. We know this baby play with his tail when the mother moving, or even when they're stationary. The young one will grab the tail, play with him. And this is how they exercise their trunk since young, are able to know how to use it. This one, it's wet, very wet, muddy. But this is the young bull that was very dark. Yeah. Now he has revisited the whole puddle of mud there. Now he's just all wet with mud. So from swimming to a mud bath. Looks like it's quite a plenty of waters in that puddle of water, pond in there. You can hear when they flush it with their legs. Ellie, you say you liked how the way they flap their ears. And it's so cool about that because it's only a way for them to be able to cool themselves off. So those ears work exactly like a fan or air conditioning, where they were able to cool off their whole body temperature down. If they don't do that, then it's going to be over too much heat on their body. So we actually now north of the camp, Juma camp, where it looks like they're gonna head south from here, where then they're gonna be heading at least the direction of either a Gari Dam itself or a Galago Pen there. But along this river, it's so wet, so they probably love it, spending time in this shade here and take it easy. But until then, it's again, the temperature allows them to move to the very open. This is when maybe it's like maybe 1500 from there. That's not gonna be too hard, but 1800 probably, that's where they're gonna be, love it so much moving around. That's gonna be cool temperature for them. It just now looks like they're all looking at us. We're probably gonna maybe have a lot of decision to make where they're gonna go. So everyone, we're coming in the end of the show from this morning, but we're hoping to join you, or you join us this afternoon by 1600 African Central Time. And this is where we're going to be carrying on looking for anything we're going to find from us. Until then, goodbye.